Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we were slated to have community members' questions and comments. Nobody signed up, so we'll move into calling to order. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Laura, would you mind leading us, please? Thank you. Next is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains routine matters that typically do not require board discussion. Individual board members may remove an item from the consent agenda for discussion, separate action. Tonight, the consent agenda items are as follows. Approve the minutes from the regular board meeting held on November 10th, 2025. Approve personnel recommendations. Accept donations totaling $10,916.98. Approve the treasurer's reports for September 2025 and October 2025. Approve the electronic fund transfers for September and October 2025. And finally, approve vouchers and payments, bill vouchers, EP register items, EFT vouchers, and Capital One items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, terrific. Next is the superintendent's report on excellence. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to begin my report tonight with a heartfelt thank you to our staff and families for investing time and care in conferences ahead of Thanksgiving break. These connections connections strengthen our shared commitment to each other, to every student's growth, and we're grateful for the partnership between home and school. We have many upcoming concerts. December is filled with student performances, including the Orono High School Band concert tonight, beginning at 7 p.m. in the Orono High School. The community is welcome also to attend the 5th and 6th grade band concerts this Thursday in the IS gym beginning at 5:30. It's always fun to see our beginning instrumentation. Our 5th grade and middle school choir concerts will be performing December 18th at the High School Fenholt Auditorium beginning at 6 p.m. as well. Just an update on debate. The Orono High School debate turned in an outstanding performances this fall with 13 debaters on the team. It's an impressive jump from 6 participants last year. The debate team competed at all the novice, junior varsity, and varsity levels. Our 2 varsity teams who were only not on varsity for 6 months before jumping into really steep competition. Keegan Clares and Ethan Weiss, Simon Forbes and Owen Marks went 2-2 at the November 15 Stillwater Classic Debate Invitational, which was amazing. And at the November 22nd Mounds Park Panther Invitational, first-year Orono debaters won the novice division with a 4-0 record. Congratulations to Haley Azeltine, Hannah Ferber, and Will Cotter on this great achievement. Special thanks to Coach John Malone for helping Orono rebuild its debate team over the last 2 years. Much for athletics. I think everyone knows, but I'll just say it again. Since we last met on November 10th, the entire community was thrilled to watch our football team defeat Marshall in the state semifinal and then take on Cass and Manorville to win the Class 4A state tournament. Like pause, great round of applause. This is the first football state title in school history. Our Spartans knocked off higher seeds in 3 consecutive games en route to claiming the championship. I want to note that the team also earned the MSHSL Academic All-State Gold Award for earning a team GPA above 3.75. This really is an amazing honor for a team that works so hard in the classroom and on the field. The team also earned numerous other awards, so I'll just mention a few. Academic All-State Adrian LaCursi, Honorable Mention All-District Players Dane Canwisher, Hudson Hurt, Rory Cavern, Lucas LaBelle, Grant Esslinger, Harrison Sleater, Sam Hultman, and Tate Cratched. All district players, Griffin Maurer, Simon Vinton, Adrian LaCursi, Bennett Halverson, Lincoln Steiner, and Wes McLean. Skyway Green District Awards, Most Valuable Why We Play, Ethan Tulke. Most Valuable Defensive Lineman of the Year, Simon Vinton. Most Valuable Linebacker of the Year, Adrian LaCursi. Most Valuable Offensive Lineman of the Year, Wes McLean. And Most Valuable Quarterback of the Year, Griffin Maurer. Vikings Senior All-Star Game, Simon Vinton. Strib 2025 Prep Bowl All-Tournament Team, Adrian LaCursi. Congratulations to Coach McPherson, to every single player, all the coaches and managers on their great season. And to the families and fans, thank you for your tremendous support. We look forward to honoring the team before next month's board meeting with our swim team as well. Dance. On to winter sports now. Dance has competed in 2 conference meets so far and earned runner-up finishes in both jazz and kick at each event, a consistent and impressive start for the Spartans. Boys swim and dive has been working hard in preparation for their first meet of the season, hosting New Prague this Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Orono pool. Nordic ski and alpine, both teams are excited to finally have snow and are preparing for upcoming competitions. Nordic ski will race in a conference meet this Thursday at Highland Park. Alpine will open conference competition 1 week from today at Buck Hill. Boys basketball has opened the season 2-0 with victories over Minnehaha Academy and Breck. Congratulations. Girls basketball is off to an incredible start, currently ranked number 1 in the state. The Spartans earned a dramatic 81-80 win over Wayzata on Friday night, with Maya Moore knocking down the game winner with 3.6 seconds left. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, pretty amazing. Boys hockey also earned its first win of the season on Friday with a 7-1 victory over Little Falls. Spartan looked to carry on that momentum into tomorrow's home game versus Breck. Girls hockey picked up a really signature and incredible 2-1 win over number 1 ranked and defending state champion Dodge County in an incredible military appreciation outdoor game at the United Heroes League rink in Hastings. Even better than the result on ice, more than $4,500 was raised for the United Heroes Leagues to support military families in keeping their kids healthy, active, and involved in sports. Congratulations to our girls hockey team. And wrestling has competed in 2 meets so far, including hosting a quad last Wednesday. Congrats to all participants on strong starts to the season. Special shout out to our growing girls wrestling team, which is now up to 3 athletes. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. Next are board members' questions and comments. Todd, would you mind doing the policy update?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. We had our first meet on the 500 series for 512, 514, and 515. This is school-sponsored student publications, student bullying prohibition, yes, and the protection and privacy of pupil records. We're going to hear a first reading on these tonight, but these are heavily mandated, and so you're going to see we're going to have a lot of alignment to just MSBA to keep it simple that way.
Perfect, thank you. And Gavin, would you mind doing the facilities and finance update, please?
Absolutely. It was a good, quick, short meeting that we will hear more about in just a moment. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
You don't want to steal Nick's thunder?
I really don't.
Okay.
I'll leave it alone.
Thank you. Let's just do general updates. Laura, would you like to go first, please?
I don't have anything to report tonight.
Todd?
Just a meeting with the PTO. 2 things. Fantastic job on the book fair. Really well done. Exceptional performance, as always, from the community and from the people who volunteer. It takes a lot of volunteer work, so just a big shout out and recognition for the efforts that they put in. And then the other is that they are now focused on getting the run-a-thon put together, so you'll start hearing about that coming up in the near future, and that's another big fundraiser for the community. So,
Perfect, thank you. Wendy?
So I attended the Early Learning PAC, the Parent Advisory Council meeting at Discovery Center. And for the past year or couple of years, we've had maybe 1 or 2 parents. We had 7, which is really exciting. And everybody left with a task. And I'm excited to see what they do. So I love that engagement. They've really been working on it. So I think that's going to be great. They have an event coming up the end of January, the Super Saturday. I'll talk more about that as we get closer. You heard the report from Dr. Fletcher about AMSD meeting on Friday. The legislative platform was approved by the board, and so we will be meeting with Orono Action to kind of use that as a starting point and then figure out our priorities. And finally, over the weekend, I was at the delegate assembly for MSBA, and it was so much fun. It was just really, it was wonderful meeting so many school board members from across the state. all there to support public education, fight for student outcomes, and just supporting each other. And it was, there was some surprises when looking through some of the resolutions that districts had put forth that didn't pass, that you think, wow, that's a no-brainer for us, but maybe for out of the metro, it's an issue or not, vice versa. So some interesting discussions that happened. Can't wait to talk more about it individually because it was so great. So that concludes my report.
Are those all the proposed?
Yes, there were 116 plus delegates there from around the state, 36 proposed resolutions, and 23 passed. The big one that you're actually going to be probably hearing about through the news is it was a resolution put forth by MSBA. It is for a constitutional amendment to the permanent school fund. Right now, the way the trust was set up was that schools are funded from that through dividends, not the principal interest. And many states who have trust funds that, trust lands that fund public education have changed their structure, modernized it to run like any endowment fund, and giving 4 to 5% of the interest to schools. So that you're using it becomes more predictable funding, you're using some of the endowment, but you're not dragging it down. You're still building money on it. The fund is about $2 billion right now. So you will be hearing a lot about that in the news. And I would say that it would be something that we would advocate for. There was no discussion. Everybody recommended it. Passed unanimously.
Thank
So,
you.
That's it.
Gavin?
I'm nothing more.
My only update is that I attended the Special Education Parent Partnership Committee on Friday. It was fantastic. It was the first one of the year. We had, welcomes, and then Allie Chorley came to give an update of how things are going. She spent the first, I'll pass this way if you guys want to take a look. You're familiar with the positive childhood experiences, and so they're really trying to push this idea out into the community, the Orono district community now, after a long period of listening and taking in information. One of the things that she highlighted was that they actually did a training with school bus drivers to talk about those positive childhood experiences and being trusted adults and how you can encounter difficult experiences with a more positive, with those sort of positive things in mind. And it seems like it went really well per Ally. The other thing we talked about, and I have the deck and I will forward it on for your information, is executive functioning skills and social skills training that all of the folks who work in special education have come together to talk about basically best practices, and they had a 2-day training this summer, and they found it was really fantastic. And so I will send you the deck. They're really trying to standardize how they approach their work, much like we're hearing it from previous meetings where you want the kids to know what they can expect and how you're going to interact with them between grades, and make sure that as fifth graders are about to go off to middle school, that the fifth grade educators know how to prepare them best for the sixth grade. It sounds like it was a really great training, and kudos to them for doing the work. So it was a fabulous meeting, and I just want to give a quick plug, which is they also would love to have more parents. The parents that they have on it right now predominantly are for high school students, and they'd love to see parents from all grades. So if you're welcome to reach out to me, you're welcome to reach out to a staff person that you know in special education if you know of somebody or think you would like to introduce somebody to something. It's very low commitment. And that concludes my report.
Just I had one thing. met with Ally last week, and she's been meeting with all of our parent organizations as well as community education and a number of others, and she's going to map out the positive childhood experiences that we already have in place and then make recommendations as well back to the whole community. So really excited to see that work this year.
Thank you. Next is old business, which the first is policy review. Dr. Flesher, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For old business, there were not any further additions or recommendations to these policies. So policy 509, enrollment of non-resident students, and policy 510, school activities, are ready for action tonight.
Thank you very much. Sorry, do we approve them separately
I think we approve them all at the same
at
time.
the same time, since there were no changes?
Correct.
Do I have a motion to approve policy 509 and policy 510?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against or abstaining? Terrific, thank you. Any other old business? Okay, on to new business. Back to more policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I welcome Dr. Erin Ruland, Executive Director of Learning and Accountability, to the board table for discussion and brief remarks regarding the 3 board policies in the 500 series for your review that Mr. Madsen described. These include policy 512, school-sponsored student publications and activities, policy 514, bullying prohibition, and policy 515, protection and privacy of, of publications, no, of people records, sorry. My gratitude to our school board policy again for their work on, and I turn it over to review for Dr. Ruland.
Thank you, Dr. Flesher, Madam Chair, and board members. As Dr. Flesher alluded to, this is a continuation of our work on the 500 series, which is focused on students. Tonight's policies each involve a complex and unique set of laws and regulations, as Mr. Madsen alluded to. Given that, and given that there were statutory changes in all 3 policies, we did reach out to Trevor Helmers, our school district attorney. So what you have before you tonight also includes his recommendations for these policy changes. There's also some minor language and grammatical changes in each policy, but I'll focus on the big pieces that were changes in the draft policies. So the first policy up for review is policy 512, school-sponsored student publications and activities. This policy provides guidance in balancing First Amendment rights for student journalists with the district's role in educating, supervising, and setting expectations for those same journalists as they're publishing on school-sponsored media. The policy committee is recommending changes that align with recent statutory shifts and MSBA model policy. These shifts highlight additional protections for those student journalists and their First Amendment rights. Be assured that administration is well-versed in responding to First Amendment questions. The recommended changes provide solid guidance for us as we navigate any issues that may arise. The next policy is 514, bullying prohibition. There's no policy or statute that we take more seriously for its substance and alignment with our core values than the bullying prohibition policy. It's been a long-standing goal to ensure that all students are feeling safe, cared about, and connected as an integral part of their experience in the Orono schools. Our character program, connectedness work, and bullying prevention and education efforts are all part of this initiative, and we're fully committed to that. There are minor language and grammatical changes recommended to this policy in relation to the bullying statute. The recommended changes to this policy are primarily related to a new statutory requirement for school boards to have policy language prohibiting malicious and sadistic conduct. The MSBA model policy for bullying prohibition now includes this language and is reflected in the recommended changes before you tonight. We did consult with Mr. Helmers on this policy as well. He advised us that embedding the language made sense in lieu of a separate policy, and there's currently no MSBA model policy for the language around that statutory change. So we are recommending embedding it into the bullying policy. Even though it's not a perfect fit, it does align and is recommended to be part of this policy moving forward. And then the final policy up for review tonight is Policy 515, Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records. This is one of the most extensive policies we have under review. It reflects the FERPA and Minnesota Government Data Practices Act guidance for the privacy and protection of student data. The most substantial recommended changes to this policy also reflects a significant statutory change and practices around directory information. So directory information is defined as data that's available to the public upon written request, and recent statutory changes limit that definition quite extensively. It can no longer include contact information for parents and students, including address, phone number, or email address. And while the school district values and supports efforts to protect privacy, there are also community partners like our PTOs, the Orono Foundation, youth sports organizations, who were previously able to access that data through directory information for the betterment of children, so that's no longer possible under state statute. We are very thankful to those organizations for finding alternative ways to partner in parent communications and to continue to provide those opportunities for our children for enrichment and belonging. So that concludes the policies that are up for review tonight. As always, the Board Policy Committee welcomes any feedback from board members, and they'll be advanced for a second reading at the next meeting in January.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Next is a facilities update. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I invite Mr. Nick Tainter, Director of Business Services, to the board table for a presentation on our recent work in facilities and our near-term planned future work for the summer of 2026. Our facilities and finance team takes very seriously the responsibility of stewardship of our campus. As a result, we've studied buildings and grounds extensively over the last 5 years, replacing, and actually previous to that for many, replacing aging HVAC systems, upgrading security and secure entrances, the auditorium infrastructure, as well as improving our ball fields and outdoor facilities. As a reminder, last spring the board sold bonds for abatement or parking lot projects, as well as both operating capital and facilities maintenance bonds. We did so to keep up with maintenance needs while keeping any tax increase impact minimal for our community. The operating capital funds plus very generous private dollars funded the new high school science lab, the new college career center, as well as auditorium improvements. Mr. Tainter is here to update the board on all of this work, as well as to present the next round of projects, the parking lots, tuck pointing, and windows in addition to tennis courts. I want to thank our partners at Wold Architects, Mr. Tainter and Mr. Chad Eisens, our facilities coordinator, who worked very hard throughout this last year in planning of all of these projects, in addition to all of their daily work. So thank you, and I turn it over to Mr. Tainter.
Thank you, Dr. Flesher, board chair, board chairs, and the members of the board. Thank you for having me tonight. Give you all a great update on what's all the fun stuff going on around campus, as far as what we've completed and then what we're looking forward ahead to. So with that, I will dive right in. See if this word. Oh, this thing's on. There you go. All right. So yes, I want to just kind of recap what we have done and want to thank the community because most of these projects were levy supported. So appreciate the great improvements we've done with the investments that the community has made in our facilities, which include indoor air quality projects in our Discovery Center, middle school, and our elementary schools. Those over the last few years have really kind of helped maintain and update current indoor air quality requirements, and certainly were an opportunity for us to further our efficiency and air quality in our buildings. We also had a middle school entry redesign, which made it a lot more safe and secure, where we had actually moved the offices from across the hall from the front entryway area to right closer to the front entryway. So I implore all the public to check that out and see what major difference that made in that building and making it more safe and secure as well. Totally, those projects alone cost over $8 million. So it was a very significant investment and really well maintained as far as those projects are concerned. And then finally, like Dr. Flesher had mentioned, receiving private funding as well as some operating capital dollars this last June to renovate our high school to include a college and career center. And I would invite the public to come and enjoy that. We have an open house on December 15th at 2:45 p.m. Please come check it out, and it's a really great space and already fully utilized by students and staff, and to ensure that they get those resources and have those resources in a great space to have to receive that help. We have a busy summer ahead of us. So as you can see on the future projects, we have three main areas that we're looking into is parking lot improvements across the whole district. That'll happen over the next 2 summers. We are constructing new tennis courts just south of the middle school, and then followed up by a lot of just maintenance, facilities maintenance to protect our most coveted assets as our buildings and facilities, to ensure that we can maintain those for a lot longer for health, safety, and long-term savings. So we move on to then the details of those. So start with the parking lot projects. As you can see, the project scope is really to reclaim most of those, which means basically digging up a few inches of the ground, reclaiming what we have, and then putting a nice flat spot in there. This will help address deterioration and drainage, the alligator, and then enhancing the safety and accessibility of our lots, as well as in reducing maintenance costs. This will really tremendously help us for the next 15 years looking out. As long as they're properly maintained, we should be able to secure that investment for quite a long time. And like Dr. Flesher had mentioned, we did have abatement bonds that were issued in June to help us help us fund those projects, and then those will be phased over 2 summers. And I'll walk you through kind of which parking lots we will be looking at doing this summer and the following summer as well.
Nick, quick question.
Yeah.
Is that just a stock photo or is that a rendering?
It's a stock photo.
Oh.
Yeah. But our expectation is going to look that nice, right? Yeah. So here's a campus map, a very colorful campus map, and as you notice in the orange bubbles, those are the lots we will be focusing in on. So there'll be the lot B, which is just south of the arena. It's not the arena. Not the exact arena parking lot, that'll be posed for next summer, but it does include, there are 2 walking paths from that lot, those will be done this summer along with B. Yep. And then C as well, so we're really kind of encompassing along the high school. As you can see, that's probably our greatest need. I do want to make a couple points and mention that you will have access, the public will have access to the activity center. So as you can see, we're not going to do all of D more west, right near the stadium. Had already been done previously. It's in good repair, so we don't have to touch that. And there'll be a drive that the construction company will allow cars to navigate towards that activity center. But you see, we'll be busy in kind of the north end of our campus with lots of middle school surrounding the high school, and then that nice little drive behind Schumann. There's actually a road right there that's not accessible because it's near playgrounds and whatnot, but it will really help make that a lot more safer and whatnot, as we know it's right near the playground area. And then the following summer, we will be doing the north lot at middle school, the arena lot, which we currently lease we own the ground. We lease that to the arena board or the nonprofit board, but we're responsible for the parking and the grounds and landscaping around that. This will also include the south end of the campus. Although I will make a mention that F and G, which G is just to the west of the link, and then F, which is just south of the district offices, those are still well within their useful life, and we'll be doing more seal coating and restriping and of that nature in those lots too. And then also E, which is just east of Schumann, that will be redone. We don't quite yet have the roundabout included, but they'll be updated striping and painting of that nature.
And the north-south walkway from A to B will be.
Yeah, that'll be in 26, actually, yes. Yep. Yep, 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 yeah. All right. The overall timeline, though, then, just wanted to walk through this with you all, as well as the public, just to give them some indication of what our official plans are. And we currently have them set for all of our projects, so I'll walk through with each of these, projects. But for this coming summer in the parking lots, we've done a lot of the development and the design already this summer, fall. That's been completed. We're kind of phase 2 right now with the bidding and approval. So right now bids are out. We're receiving bids through this month. I believe here shortly we should be getting everything kind of finalized, so that our key milestone is to have the board approve a bid on the January 12th board meeting. All that is in progress, and all that's on time, so therefore we are looking forward to having those bids solidified by then. Then it's moving on to the contracts and all the shop designs and everything else of that nature, just the fine tuning of the contract itself over the next several months through May-ish, and then May into the summer we'll be working on improving those lots. So it'll be a busy summer out there. Be safe and look for signs and whatnot as you navigate through the campus. But these are really important projects that we'd like to complete, and our goal is to complete that by the first day of school next year.
Do you mind if I just mention, we were cognizant of, we have a pot of money with the abatement dollars that summer 2026 will be just cheaper than summer 2027 for the entire community. So we did push more into 26 as possible, just for the cost savings. And while there might be some, short-term pain with that, the long-term benefit is significant.
We were thinking, we were estimating anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 of savings just to put those projects in here. So that's significant. Yep. All right. Next is the tennis court project, and again, these are not real renderings. This is a stock photo as well, but I'm hopeful that it'll look just like that. There are four courts that we are looking at constructing in the south end of the middle school, and I'll just quickly go back up to this map. So you'll notice just south of the middle school where M is located, we did remove the student center back in October to clear the area for this project. We could fit up to 11 or 12 courts in that area, but we wanted to phase this in, be appropriate as far as just understanding that we would like to get there eventually, but we want to start with these 4 courts and see how those go. So we will be adding 4 courts to that area this coming summer. This will help support, not only athletics and the community, but also our physical education program at the middle school. A lot closer of a walk for those kids in the middle school to do some of that programming there during the day as well. This will, again, improve safety, provide community access, and a really great opportunity for us to have in that area of the property to have these courts situated. We will be using a combination between lease levy funding, which by state statute we're able to receive a certain amount per pupil unit, and we have enough funds to help us finance a project like this. But we will also be heavily dependent on also community ed funds, which community ed area has shown their great support in this, knowing that the community really would like courts of this nature, and so they'll be kicking in a little bit of that financing as well. And again, the construction timelines for summer of 2026. So on just looking at the details of the timeline with this project, we are looking at design and documentation have all kind of we're taking care of this summer fall. We will look to, now we're in that bidding and approval phase. This one's a little bit delayed, and rightfully so. I think there's a lot going on January's board meeting, so we did kick this to February because this had a little bit more of a, we wanted to get the parking lots and the tuck pointing and the facilities, so we really wanted to make sure we got ahead of the ball. A lot of these contractors are already starting to work on plan for summer projects. This nature, we have a little bit more flexibility with those, and our partners at Wold have advised us this whole way. So February 9th will be the key milestone, the board approval for phase 2, and then continuing with contracts and shop design and making sure we can get all the processing and of those natures done before end of May. And then again, construction should start around May, June of the summer. With that said, yeah. And then as a side note, we'll be then considering removing the forecourts, which is just the south of the district office, and making that a green space for the foreseeable future. That will ensure it'll look a little better from the road, and as well as give a little extra green space, which everybody's clamoring for more green space around these days. So.
Mr. Tater, would you mind if I also mention that we've been in contact with those, the community members who originally owned the land for where the child care center was, and proposed potentially having a dedication of that space and maybe some kind of memorial there just to remember that their intention was always for that space to be used as a community. And it was originally a church, probably 30 years ago. And so I reached out, talked to the pastor, and they're very interested in that. So we want to do something as we create this space I was interviewed by the Spartan Speaks for it, and it was just fun to go back in history, and I think it's important people remember the history of that space, so that will be ongoing while we're doing this as well.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Dr. Flesher. Yeah. On to then.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, please. Tom.
So we'll be down 4 tennis courts during the summer of '26, is that correct? While we build the other.
We can still use these this summer.
Oh, okay.
We will remove those when these are built. These should be ready, though, for fall season for middle school.
Yes, unless there's
Something
significant
that goes
delays.
wrong, but,
Right.
yeah, right.
Knock on wood.
Can I also just ask the parking lot there where the new tennis courts will go, is that part of the project, or is that looped into the parking
Yeah.
lot rehab elsewhere?
That'll be 27 most likely, but yes, we are kind of redesigning that whole area, but there still will be ample parking in that area. All right, last and not least, the facilities maintenance project. So we will be doing not only exterior windows and doors, but we will also be doing some tuck pointing, and that includes brick replacement and just kind of efficiencies that are around the buildings that we're seeing some deterioration of. This will be mainly centered around the Discovery Center, middle school, and the elementary buildings, which are in need of the most repair. We're hopeful that over the next couple summers we'll make these improvements to again, our most significant asset, which is our facilities. We will we'll be using long-term facility maintenance bonds. So that's what the LTFM stands for. These were issued back in June as well, along with abatement bonds and capital bonds that were mentioned earlier. And again, we'll be doing them mostly over the next 2 summers, but the bulk of it should be done and completed this summer, with maybe some odds and ends towards the summer after that. No disruption to programming or any of that nature that we're anticipating this summer. And again, this is just to really ensure that our buildings are working as efficient and well maintained as they need to be, so we can save on energy costs and improve comfort overall of the buildings. The timeline on those, we've got 2 of the similar timelines, exterior windows and doors timeline. Again, worked on a lot of that project and documentation in phase 1 between summer and this fall. Now we're moving into the bidding and approval stage again, and have been in that process currently, with a key milestone of having the board approve that on January 12th as well. So you'll be approving the exterior windows and doors, parking lots, and then also the tuck pointing, which I'll get to, but very similar time frame. And then we'll be reviewing the contracts and shops between now, January and May, with with then summer construction happening over between June and August. And like I said, same similar situation with the tuck pointing. We're hoping to create some efficiencies with contractors and those kinds of things, but although this is two different projects, we're hopeful that we can make it as efficient as possible and get the biggest bang for our buck. But essentially what we're doing is that timeline's very similar. January 12th, you'll have the approval process will occur. And again, we'll be looking over construction documents and those kinds of things as we kind of near May. And then again, hopefully completion with most, if not all of it, by the end of August as well.
This is maybe a question you can't answer yet, and that's okay. But when you're saying we're hoping to make as many efficiencies as possible, of this last project, the tuck pointing in the windows and the doors, are there construction companies that do all of that?
Yeah, that's what we're still kind of navigating.
Got it.
We're not 100% sure. We would hope that there'd be, and then that we could work with one partner on it all, and then it could, like I said, gain those efficiencies.
Sure. But you may have to go separate ones
Right.
if you want, if that is how it pans out.
Exactly.
So we don't know yet.
Right.
Okay. I just want to compliment the district for doing this last project, because the other projects are noticeable and felt, and these are the things that aren't as much, but they're so important for us to maintain the value of our district and our building. So thank you very much for being so forward-looking in this and keeping us efficient and safe.
Yeah, they're definitely not flashy projects at all, but they are important. And just again, our partners at Wold really do a great job of just helping us keep that visibility to the future. And in those buildings, we every so often we'll do a review, a detailed review, and that's where Chad Eichens, our coordinator of building and grounds, does a great job as well as managing that and spending the time to just walk through a building. It's hours upon hours of time just to kind of look at these details, and they really help us navigate that process and ensure that we're still looking that far ahead of ourselves, so that we're ensuring that we're protecting our greatest assets and also not having any significant surprises that come up.
The bid people, they're called pre-bid walks or something.
Yeah.
They're all out here taking pictures of all throughout the campus all the last few weeks.
Very busy, yes.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. With that concludes my district update report. Are there any other questions, comments?
Is it possible to get a copy of this?
Yeah, for sure, yes.
Just so I
Yeah.
keep it straight in my head.
Yeah.
Like, I started writing it down, I thought I'll just ask if I can get a copy.
Awesome. Yep.
Thank you. It was very informative. It's good.
There'll be a lot coming forward in January.
Which is why I'm like, if I
Yeah.
could have this, just,
Very good point, yeah.
sakes.
So the next item on the agenda is actually something we cannot do until 7 p.m. because it's the truth in taxation. And so after a very brief discussion earlier today, we're going to adjourn this meeting and then open up the truth in taxation meeting. And during that time, we will divvy up so that not all school board members are in here, because that would be quorum. And so we'll invite you back up. Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
absolutely. We need you up here. So do I have a motion to adjourn this portion of the business meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned for now. Okay, we are calling to order the Truth in Taxation hearing. It is just after 7 o'clock, and I would ask Dr. Flesher to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I welcome Mr. Nick Tainter, Director of Business Services to the board for presentation and for our formal Truth and Taxation hearing. Mr. Tainter will start with the hearing, followed by an action regarding the certification of the levy. In Minnesota, all school boards are required to hold an annual Truth and Taxation hearing before adopting the final property tax levy for the coming year. The purpose of this hearing tonight is to provide our community members a transparent look at how local property taxes are used to support our schools, and to provide an opportunity for public input. You will hear tonight from Mr. Tainter about our current budget, the proposed property tax levy payable in next year, the factors that are increasing or decreasing the levy for us, yay, and to share how levy dollars are allocated across operating capital and dedicated funds. After the presentation and a public comment period, the school board will take action on the final levy, which cannot exceed the preliminary levy that was certified in September. And I turn it over to Mr. Tainter right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Dr. Flesher, Board Chair Borchers, and board members of Orono. Thank you for having me tonight to update you all, as well as the public, on the final property tax levy for 2026. All right. As always, we start. It looks a lot better out this door than it does right now here in Minnesota, that's for sure. So don't get too lost in that picture. But as we always want to remind ourselves, as well as the public, our mission and vision is truly inspiring those, empower every student. So therefore, everything that goes into what we put forth in the mission and vision drives us towards that aspect, and ensuring that we have good financial stewardship is one of the key values of how we get to that mission and vision. And certainly this is a very important step in that process, as we know that tax levies impact our district as well as other districts, but mainly ours, because we do rely heavily on the community to ensure that we can put forth the effort and drive towards that mission and vision. Tonight I have several items that we are required to go through, but there are also good ways of showing and providing you all, as well as the public, with information that goes into the whole tax levy process. We'll start off with just a little bit of background, work through our way in the budget, and then talk more importantly about the proposed tax levy certification payable in 2026, and then follow up with public comments and questions. As state law requires, there's several items that we need to required to go through before we can certify a levy, and we'll cover all these through the presentation this evening, ultimately leading to the approval of that final levy. As you can see, this is a very busy slide. It's because, for one, unlike cities and county school districts, are highly regulated. As you can see, we are governed by the state legislature on how much we can approve ourselves and those kinds of things, and we're really restricted in a lot of those areas. Unlike cities and counties, again, we're regulated, but we are also capped in a lot of aspects before we have to go to the voters and whatnot. We can, and I do want to mention, as Dr. Flesher mentioned, that we can always levy less than what we had proposed, but no more than the amount certified in the proposed levy at the end of September. This is an important aspect of just making people really aware of how much we receive from the state. We'll go through some. There's a slide that's really good information on how much we receive in the state. It's just over 60% of our funding is state funding based on enrollment, and for the last 20 plus years, the amount that we've received from the state has even gotten further and further away from inflationary standards. So really kind of understanding is that we're trying to play catch up in a lot of respects, to ensure that we are meeting the needs of not only our students and families, but also our staff. And therefore we are still, that gap is still there, and like I said, it's continuing to increase. This is really important, and I'll share a really good example. So change in levy does not necessarily mean there's a change in budget. And a great example of this is just when we completed our indoor air quality projects. Some of those were ones that we levied specifically for, which were board approved, to ensure that we could have good, efficient, maintained systems. Those projects were specific to that purpose and not essentially just something we would normally do on an annual basis. So that's why you'll see sometimes where levies will fluctuate a little bit. It's mainly due to the fact that we have certain projects that we need to get done sooner than later, and can't and don't want to borrow maybe against those as well. So we try to do a little balance of between the two different methods, but that's where sometimes you'll see some of that, some of those movements in the tax levy amounts. And as you'll notice tonight, we've got a decrease in that mainly due to the fact that those indoor air quality projects were completed. We're working on a 3-year budget cycle, so I'll try to best explain this as much as I can because it is really confusing. Cities and counties are on the calendar year end, so they follow the fiscal year along with the taxes payable, whereas school districts, we have a July 1st beginning year and end of the year is June 30th, so it's 6 months into that year. Therefore, it does complicate a few things, so we're kind of in 3 different cycles. We just ended fiscal year 25 at the end of June. We are currently in FY 26, but we are working towards a tax levy that's going to be paying us in 26, but those revenues won't now be recognized until FY 27. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So yes, working within really kind of 3 budget cycles is the summary of that. If you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to just light your mic up, and I'll pause for a second as well. Onto the budget now. As we transition to the budget, we are required to report and to review our current year budget. We don't yet have our 26-27 budget completed. That will be presented in June as normal, as that is required by state statute to have that budget approved by June 30th of 2026. I do want to mention that you can review, the public and board or forever who are interested can review our budget book, which is published on our website, and you can follow that URL and find the budget report there for more details. I will also mention that there's a lot of there's number of funds here that are listed. Each fund has its own purpose. The ones that are tax levy related would be the general fund, the community service fund, and the debt service and the OPEB debt service. The OPEB is our other post-employment benefits, which helps us maintain and ensure that we have assets available to those that gain or still are on our plans even after their post-employment or they retire. This is a very busy slide. I won't go through this in detail, but I will say that this reports all those different funds, the actual activity from the previous fiscal year, and along with our budget for this current year, which was approved back in June by the board. Nothing's changed on the budget side. The actual, obviously, those might have changed since you've last seen this report. And you can review this district revenue and expenditure report online as well, as that's posted with these same amounts. Now diving more into the overall budget, wanted to highlight a few areas of the budget that I feel are important to ensure to kind of connect the dots with the tax levy. So as I mentioned earlier, the general fund along with the community service fund and debt service funds, those are supported by the levy. You can see our general fund makes up 77% of our total revenues overall for the district. All other funds have a specific purpose, and even though they might be a little less minuscule, very important, but again, food service fund and the other funds have a specific purpose for what they are intended to be used for, very highly restricted, and ensure that we can still meet those needs of those different funds. But again, general fund is 77% of our overall picture. I'll dive into now the general fund, since that is a majority and significant portion of our budget. I'll kind of, the next few slides, we'll talk about more or less the general fund in more specifics, starting with the revenues. So as you can see here, we have 30% of our revenues come from property taxes. Now, there is a portion of property taxes that are state aid, that are paid via state aid, so it's not all coming from the taxpayers. That's a smaller amount, but I just wanted to make that a mention there. Otherwise, 64% of our total budget's made up of state aids, which is really enrollment derived, heavily enrollment derived. So therefore, majority of our districts, and that those support, and that we want those to support our students, right? So that's where a lot of those funds, and you'll see in the next couple slides where our expenditures are going towards. We're ensuring that we're driving most of those revenues to the classroom. With that, as you can see here, I want to make a mention. There's a lot of different numbers on this, but essentially, really, what it means is that elementary, if you couple elementary and secondary regular instruction, vocational, special education, instructional support, and pupil support make up the bulk of our total budget. 80% of our expenditures are directly used for the instruction of our students, whereas administration and district support services make up just about 8% of our total budget. And then followed by, which I feel is really important, is to say that 79% of our total general fund expenditures are used for salaries and benefits to staff in the district. Schools are very heavily driven by people, and it's really important to understand that we have a community-based public school with a lot of individuals that contribute to this community, and it's important to make sure that we're focusing on that piece of it overall. Next, I'll walk through the different steps of the levy process as well, and then finalizing with the overall levy prior to the public comments, and then you all having the opportunity to approve that levy. Let's see. All right, yeah. And just a little bit of property tax background. School districts levies are the only one part of the total property tax levy equation. So you'll notice that when you look at your tax statement, you'll see a lot of different municipalities, city, county, watershed, whatever it may be, other special districts that are located on there. So I wanted to mention that. And then with that, this is just an example just to kind of show you what you'll see on your property tax statement. This may not look exactly like the one you have that you received in the mail, but those those notices were sent out, the proposed notices were sent out between November 12th and the 25th. If you haven't received it, you should reach out to your county and they should be able to furnish a copy. The contents of those really kind of make sure you can see the comparison between the previous years, and as a lot of the constituents in this community will notice that the property taxes for school actually went down, and we'll talk further more about that as well. I want to remind the board and the public that this is highly regulated, like I mentioned earlier. So therefore, emphasize the key moments are what affects the school district's property tax levy. So if you look down below that second to last bullet point, you'll see student enrollment, property values, voter-approved items, and long-term facility maintenance approved by MDE are all the most significant components of how that will affect our levies. Again, student enrollment's very strong on the student enrollment aspect, ensuring that we can continue, as long as we have stable enrollments, we'll continue to receive support from the community on that piece as well. And then on to, there's about 4 of these steps prior to when we came here in September. So there's a number of steps that happen prior to when the school board and the school gets involved in that step 5. We're at, we'll be right before, then after this meeting, I'll be reporting, certifying to the county as well as MDE and the Minnesota Department of Revenue our reports as well. And then more importantly, more in the weeds on the process of when it gets to our step in the process, the beginning of September is when we have an opportunity to start, drafting and looking at the levy limit and those kinds of things. On September 22nd, the school board had certified a proposed levy that was sent in to the county. And then by mid-November, like I mentioned, the reporting, the proposed property tax statements are sent out to the public. Here we're at today, December 8th, on public hearing on the proposed levy at this regular meeting. And then following this, we'll be certifying those levy amounts. So now the good stuff, right? Now we get into the actual overall levy. So as you can see on this slide, as proposed in September, where the board took action to approve the maximum levy, here's the final levy amount resulting in an overall decrease to the levy from the previous year. And I'll walk through some of the changes there as well. So overall, at 22 million, just shy of $23 million, and a negative 2.5% decrease, or 2.59% decrease from 2025's payables. And then breaking those out in the different funds. The general fund, as you can see, had the largest change, and I'll cover some of those, the rationale for that. But you'll notice there's some, just some smaller adjustments on the other side, but the majority is in that general fund area. And the other approved categories, and that's mainly to do with what we had accomplished were those indoor air quality projects. So that was the greatest adjustments that we saw from for this period's tax levy, and that's mainly due to the fact that we were receiving levy funds throughout that process and just kind of reconciling and all of that at the tail end, which is very typical of a situation of that nature. The other more significant adjustments were that general fund operating referendum increased a little bit. That's mainly due to the inflationary factors as well as and stable enrollments. And then last was the debt service fund and debt access. I'll try my best to explain this, but essentially what we have to do is levy 105% of any bond financing that we do. That's required by required by the state, so that we can ensure that we're paying off that principal and interest in case we were ever in a situation where we didn't collect all of our levies from the public. It's just kind of a little bit of an insurance package, but those funds do stay in that fund, and they will build over time, and after a while, formulas in the state law will determine that we need an adjustment. We can use those excess funds then to lower our levies. So that's what happened in 2025. We don't have that access to this year because they did that one kind of cut. Now we'll build it back up, and then, you know, as long as we're collecting everything from the public on time and to the degree of how much we've set, we should have another possibility where an excess would be able to limit the amount of levy for that year. Just a few areas where tax refund and deferral could potentially be an option for property owners, mainly in the homestead credit refund, special property tax refund, and a senior citizen property tax deferral. I want to highlight some of our points of pride. As I mentioned this in our September report, it's really important to really share the accomplishments of the school, because without those tax levy dollars, none of this would be possible. As you can see, we've been able to, we're putting our funds to good use and supporting our mission, and ensuring that we're overall supporting our students and also having exemplary financial oversight. As you see here, a number of accomplishments by the students in our area, which is really great. Great job by everyone, and like I said, thank you to the public for supporting all our efforts in this area, along with the financial oversight and having an AA3 Moody's rating, which is really helpful to reflect several strengths, including a fluid economic base, the growing enrollment, solid debt profile, and sound financial management. And kudos to our finance team, especially Rachel McQuiston, our controller, who oversees the audit. We've received now for several years is the ASBO, which is the oh my gosh, I'm drawing blanks, school board officials, the School Board Officials, Association of School Board Officials International. They certify based on excellent in reporting, and so we've been able to achieve that award for the last several years since we started. And then also from last month, just to regroup on that, we did have a clean audit opinion with no findings this year from our auditors at LB Carlson. Just wanted to really quickly just do a snapshot. I know I mentioned this earlier in my report to the district on the updates, but I just really wanted to share our appreciation for the community, ensure our buildings are safe, healthy, and help mitigate emergency situations, which can be very costly if buildings are not maintained timely. So that includes our indoor air quality projects that we completed throughout the Discovery Center, elementary schools, and middle school, as well as the middle school reentry design. We have currently in the motion, we have projects looking forward to parking lot improvements, new tennis courts, and the maintenance on the buildings, including to really ensure that we're following and really ensuring that we have our greatest assets covered, and that you can see, again, in more detail in my previous report to the board earlier tonight. Last but not least, we will accept public comments on the proposed levy, and then the board will certify the 2026 property tax levy.
Yes, we now have it open for public comment and questions. And there's no one here. There's one person in the audience, and she is a staff member and forced to be here. And we appreciate it because it's nicer to look out at least at one person. So I'm going to wait a couple heartbeats, and then we will move on. Okay, we're moving on to 9D, which is a roll call vote. Dr. Fletcher, do you want to key it up, or do you want me to just read the recommendation? Okay. So the recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the final 2025 payable 2026 property tax levy of $22,921,281 as presented, and direct the clerk to certify to the Hennepin County Auditor in that amount. Do I have a motion to approve that recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, this will be a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Well, that covers everybody. It passes unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
And then, okay, do I just officially say, we have now closed the truth and taxation hearing? The next is any other new businesses necessary? Terrific. I'd like to point out the informational items, including the December enrollment, and then the next regular meeting will be held on Monday, January 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. here in the district office. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. We are adjourned.